It's time to stop posting your damn kids on social media, because if you have any net worth whatsoever, they are going to create deep fakes of your children. We're going to see all kinds of things. And I did it too. I was complicit. I was not in this world at that time. I wouldn't do it now, posting your children's photos. Your teenagers, you need to monitor their phones and what they're doing.
Welcome to another episode of Negotiate Your Best Life. I'm so excited because today I get to welcome one of my dearest friends and also one of the most fierce, brilliant people that I know. Susan Sly is absolutely a trailblazer. And when I say that, I don't say that lightly. In the AI sector, she was one of the founders and CEOs of one of the fastest growing, most incredible AI companies in the world. And now, I mean, really a powerhouse. And I watched her do it. And blood, sweat, tears. And now she is starting again with another one. I mean, wow, she is truly one of the most brilliant people I know and one of the most heart-centered, beautiful friends that I know. And most people think that we're sisters. So, I mean, I just try to keep up with her. So Susan, today we are going to be talking about how to negotiate using AI. And it's my pleasure to welcome you today.
Well, thanks so much, Rebecca. It's great to be here, and hello to everyone. And it was so funny because even every time Rebecca and I get together, we start talking and I'm like, oh my gosh, we have a show to do. So it's going to be fun to talk about AI. There's a lot of implications for negotiation, for divorce, for relationships, even for dating, and especially with things that are happening in the media right now. So I know it's going to be a great conversation.
Yeah. So, I mean, negotiation. I mean, we have people who listen to us for negotiating in jobs and with business partnerships and all sorts of areas. And AI is taking over like wildfire. So, and you are the one who knows it all about AI. So I'm so excited to have you here just to download your brain for myself in this space. So tell me, first of all, how did you get into this? I mean, this is not something that you started with, right? So how did you get into this world?
Well, it's a great question. It's kind of a full circle event. And Rebecca, you and I have talked about being raised by incredible fathers. Your father, a physician, my father, an engineer. And
Both of our dads were Chinese and
yeah,
both of our moms were white. We'll call it white, European. So, but that's why people think we're sisters a lot of times because we kind of look alike. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And so my dad, being raised by a single dad, and shouts out to the single parents out there, my dad he fostered this curiosity in me. So in the 80s, as an example, I wanted video games. Everyone was playing video games, and my dad wouldn't buy me video games. He gave me a computer, and he said, learn to make them yourself. So I started coding first in DOS, then in BASIC. I took the Dungeons and Dragons. I started Dungeons and Dragons Club. I took the Dungeons and Dragons book, and I started to create my own video game version of it, because back then we didn't have graphic processing units. There were no graphic cards. So it was all very text-based gaming. And so that's how I started. And then in college, I was working on a project where we were building early facial recognition algorithms and quantification. And then I left that and went into the world of health and wellness. So in 2018, I had just come through being very sick. I've been to Africa many times. I've done a lot of work in the developing world, rescuing girls from sex trafficking. And I'd come back from a trip. I was really sick. I was misdiagnosed. In fact, one doctor, since we're, the theme here is narcissism, one doctor had the flippant audacity to say, oh, it's all in your head. Here's a self-help book. I was like, I do speaking events with Tony Robbins. I don't need a self-help book. I've written 7 books. Thank you. Then another doctor sends me all this research on PMS. It wasn't PMS. It wasn't all in my head. I had an amoeba. It was shutting down my organs and I could have died. And finally, I went to an amazing physician in New York, 86 years old. He had been working with Doctors Without Borders. He diagnosed me and he said, if you hadn't been so healthy, you would have died. And that was my wake up call, Rebecca. You and I were just talking about like 10xing our lives and achieving. And I was sitting there and I was like, if I could have died, what have I not done? And I wanted to go back into technology. And so I met these guys who had started an AI company and they needed someone with my skills. And my skills, my zone of genius is big ticket sales, enterprise sales, B2C sales, B2B sales. And I've generated personally over $2 billion in sales and counting. The biggest deal I've done is, and my girlfriends say, Susan, stop diminishing yourself. So this is the first show I've ever actually said these figures. The biggest deal I've done is over $50 million in one deal in an MSA for over $60 million. And then just in B2C sales, over 2 billion. And I was, candidly at a place I wanted a challenge. And so I came on, they made me a co-founder, eventually co-CEO. And during my tenure there, we won Venture Beat's a very prestigious AI award at the Edge. I became one of the top women in artificial intelligence as an entrepreneur. I went back to school. I went to MIT. I graduated from there. Then we did the largest deployment of computer vision AI at scale that had ever been done in history. And through a series of events that happened, which you know about, I won't talk about publicly, I ended up leaving to start my own AI company in the women's healthcare space focused on menopause. And so now it feels, Rebecca, that health, AI, technology, first time in my life, 51 years old, that it's all convening all of my knowledge the past decades of business.
Yeah, and I watch you do it, and I know that this is going to be an explosion in the healthcare world. I mean, it's going to be I'm going to watch you do it, and it's going to be incredible. So I, and so AI is the next thing, and I mean, it's here to stay. And so how can people now start navigating? I mean, as far as Chat GPT, for example. I mean, a year and a half ago, nobody had even heard of Chat GPT, and now it's the thing, right? So talk about Chat GPT, for example, and how that has changed everybody's lives as far as, just every day in communications, for example. And how people can utilize that. I mean, just that alone.
Sure. So that type of AI is called generative AI. And so generative AI is a form of artificial intelligence where you give an input and it produces some kind of output. It could be text-based, it could be video-based. We just saw OpenAI's latest product, it's text to video, and it is startling in terms of, and people can go on my personal LinkedIn. I wrote a whole editorial on it, but it's startling how you can say something like, create a video of puppies playing in the snow and it looks like real golden retriever puppies playing in the snow, or create a movie trailer with a spaceman in a knit space helmet is another one. And it looks like a movie trailer. With something like Chat GPT, or we see Google Gemini, which I'll talk about in a minute, I think that has built-in narcissism. And I'll say that openly, even though I'm a Google shareholder, full disclosure, and if anyone's listening from Google. Then we see Microsoft Copilot. So I can put these inputs in and it's going to create an output. So I have used it personally. I build my own GPTs. I just did a big interview for an AI show with a bunch of girlfriends who've all won awards in AI. And I build my own GPTs, Rebecca, because I want them to sound like me. And I have different ones for different things. And you don't have to be a coder. If you have the GPT-4, which I do, the paid version, there's a place where you can go and start to build your own GPTs. And so when we see what people are using them for, we're seeing search. The number one social media search is actually TikTok now. People are using that for search, but we're seeing GPTs being used for search. We see them for optimization. Like I was negotiating a legal contract, and I have more attorneys than I have handbags, but I really wanted ADR language in there, and I didn't really like how they had worded it. So I put it in my GPT, and I said, I want ADR language, put in this, and this is what I want. And it prompted it, and I sent it back to their attorney, and he was like, perfect, we'll go with that. And that came out of OpenAI. So we're using it for a lot of different things. I think on the other side, we're also seeing a lot of people even using it as a companion, and not just recommendations for restaurant. How do I heal my marriage? How do I improve my social media presence? And it will spit out all kinds of recommendations. The thing we have to understand is that ChatGPT is a Microsoft product, and my new startup, the Pause Technologies, is also a Microsoft startup. So I'm in that ecosystem. We're building in that ecosystem. So it's using search from Bing. Gemini, Google's product, is using search from Google. And then you've got Microsoft Copilot, which a lot of my friends who are technologists, data science, and so forth are very excited about that one. It is also a Microsoft product. And then we have Grok, which is the one that Elon's team built, that is over on X. And so there's a lot of different generative AI platforms out there. How people are using them and how people like me are using them is we're using different ones for different things.
Okay, so when you say build your own to make it sound like you, can you give more direction on that?
Well, because I love you in this like girlfriend chat, how long have I been telling you as your sister, let me build one that sounds like Rebecca? It's easy to do.
Okay,
And I could do it in literally 15 minutes. So how you do it is these models are very data hungry. So I'll give you an example. So I decided, for some reason, having an esoteric like moment, I graduated from MIT Sloan. I'm going to go back to MIT Sloan and do this chief digital officer program. And I don't mind saying to your audience, because like my show is raw and real entrepreneurship. You've been on the show, I'll be raw and real, that I was like, do I need to prove myself as I'm transitioning to go into this next chapter? Am I really a technologist? Because I was always known as the non-technical founder. So I decided to go back to school. So what I did, here's an example of a GPT I built. I went into ChatGPT and I took all of the contents of the program that I am studying at MIT. I put them into a GPT. I called it Tim's World. Tim is the mascot of MIT. It's a beaver. And so now it knew how the content the professors wanted us to learn. And so when I was writing my papers and I was going in the group and having to do like the dialogue, MIT lets us use GPT. So I'm just not telling you anything my professors didn't know. Instead of me taking 3 hours to write a paper, I would do it in literally 2 minutes. I'd check the references, click through, make sure they were relevant. I asked it to cite things in APA 7 format. It did. And it was like that. If I was building one for Rebecca, what I would do is I would take inputs of things that Rebecca had written, and I would say, we are training the model. I would tell it, we are training this model, and this is the language, this is the tone. I would even give it references to interviews you've done. It doesn't really currently read video, but it will read images. But it is great at reading text. I'd give it any text, video, or interviews you've done, and I would train it to sound just like Rebecca. Then you can actually export that GPT, depending on, all sorts of different things, you have people who do it for you. You can export it and use it. So you could go to Rebecca's website and interact with it as though it's Rebecca. You can build a chat bot that sounds just like you and have it embedded in your website.
Okay, interesting. Interesting. And all of that is in Chat GPT.
In GPT-4. And then there's a developer section there. You don't need to know how to code, but if you wanted to build, say, a chat bot, then there's some coding that's required. But these tools have made things so fast. It's incredible. So even for my new company, we are going to be building our own LLM, our own large language model. We're going to build right now in women's menopause. It is disgusting, the disparities in health. Just to give an example, Rebecca, heart disease kills more women than all the top 5 cancers combined in the United States. 70% of the data on heart disease comes from middle-aged white men. Neither you nor I are a middle-aged white man, yet the majority of that data set is from this. So we're gathering our data as we're launching our platform, which will come first in the App Store, and then it'll come in the Google Play Store, and it'll be an amazing platform for women to be able to get the best customized recommendations for menopause. And then we'll take that, we'll build our own large language model. But currently, basically anyone can build a GPT. Anyone can do it.
So if somebody is now saying, hey, I want to be able to negotiate powerfully, I want to have the edge and be able to, write this really powerful email, or I want to be able to create leverage against this person, what would they be able to do using ChatGPT?
Oh, girl, we're going to get a lot of comments on this one. This is what I would do. I would take whatever correspondence the attorney had sent over. I would feed it into GPT. Don't use 3.5, use 4. I think they're working on GPT-5. I would feed it in and I'd say, help me negotiate based on this. And so it would use that data as an input. Give me questions that this attorney is likely to ask based on this correspondence. Give me, help me to have the best responses for this. You can train it to go back and forth with you. I've even put things into it. The other day, there was a GPT outage last week, but prior to that, even OpenAI, and I'm going to call them out because they have not one woman on their board. They have a female like a board, monitor, but they don't have a woman on their board. We are literally the generation giving birth to AI, but there is no current. Every company, Target is an AI company, Walmart is an AI company, any company using AI is an AI company. And women are naturally the ones that give birth. And there are a lot of smart women out there. Every company should have, firstly, someone who specializes in AI on their board. Secondly, every AI company needs to have women on their board, not just observers, but actually on their freaking board. I said the same thing to Julie Sooth, Secretary of Labor, when I was with her at the CES this year in Las Vegas. And this is the disgusting to me that there's no legislation. That's my little soapbox. So that's as an aside, Rebecca. I know we're talking about that. But the reason I bring this up is GPT, even OpenAI will admit, oh, we know that GPT isn't responding the way it should, or blah, 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 blah. I've actually said to it, your response isn't good enough. Critique your own work. It will critique its own work.
Yeah. So let's say you want to create a response. Okay. So you put it in ChatGPT, you can do it that way, right? So you want to say, I want to create an email response, put it in ChatGPT. Right?
Yes. Yeah. And you have to prompt it to be able to respond in a certain way, because it's going to do some things that are fairly stock, like, things. So you would say something like, respond to this at a master's degree, MBA from Wharton level speech. the more specific you are with your queries, the better. And the more, so when I'm writing papers, I'm writing at a MIT Sloan graduate level because that's how I would write. And so that's what I tell it to do. But if you just put in like, oh, what should I say? It's not going to help you. You would say something like, what would a $750 an hour attorney respond to in this case? How would they respond? Respond like that. Respond from the point of view of someone who wants to win this case, and it will disclaim it and say, just so you know, I can't make any promises. No, but it's the thing it's going to help you do is organize your thoughts. It's going to help you come up with ideas. And AI is the first technology that is really there to enhance how humans think and produce output. All the other technologies have been like, let's move us from place to place. Like when cars started, when airplanes started, kitchen gadgets, let's just make things more efficient. This is the first technology that's designed to make our brains more super efficient, like pure technology. And that's what it should be used for. But at the end of the day, you've got to check your work. You need a sanity check. I'm not suggesting you replace your attorney with GPT by any stretch of the imagination, but it is incredibly helpful. And most of my friends who are professionals are using GPT.
Yeah, for sure. What other types of AI could somebody engage or use for getting the edge in negotiation or leverage or dealing with narcissists or dealing with somebody that's high conflict?
That is an excellent question. I'm going to shift to the dangers of AI with the people are negotiating with.
Okay.
So I want to shift because I think your question is brilliant. Of course, we want to know what we're up against. So everyone listening, watching, you're negotiating with a narcissist. And believe me, I have negotiated with narcissists in business, in life, and it sucks. Narcissists will always use tools that are out of integrity because they don't have integrity. So I want to talk about what narcissists are using that are so damaging right now. So let's start with deepfakes. So there was the Taylor Swift deepfake. And the good thing is,
I just want to make sure that people understand what she's saying. It's DEEPFAKE. So it's like deep fake. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Is that, just not everybody understands what you're talking about.
Sure. No worries. So what that was, it was widely in the media that it looked like Taylor Swift had, essentially was in porn. Now, I want everyone to know two things. Taylor Swift has millions of fans and they knew it wasn't her. And so that way it didn't last. It wasn't a problem for her because she had built a stellar reputation. To make a deep fake, it only costs, Rebecca, it can cost as little as $30-$40. You can have it done overseas and you only need about 10 images of that person to make it happen.
Wow.
That's number one. We are seeing where young girls are getting bullied with deep fakes. Before, you would have to like take an image of the person, Photoshop it. Not anymore. With generative AI, you can have these deep fakes created. So what I am concerned about is our young women. I'm concerned about in terms of negotiating, in terms of divorce, in terms of relationships, in terms of business conflict. We're going to start seeing, and we're already seeing what has happened with this election. We're going to see it at the C-suite level. We know that you and I were talking about on the show, prior to the show, that when a team of people want to destroy a woman in a leadership position, they'll just talk smack about her. They'll talk about her boobs. They'll do all sorts of stupid stuff. They'll say, oh, she's in menopause. Like, oh my gosh. Now they can do even worse. They can make up things she's written. They can make up images about her. They can make up videos with her. So the OpenAI Sora that I was talking about making the videos, How do you know it's not going to be able to produce a video of a CEO who goes to church, who volunteers, who is a mom, you know, pole dancing? We don't know because we don't know. We won't know until we use it and get our hands on it. We've seen the images that Google Gemini has created that are false. We have seen, I put into OpenAI DALL-E, I asked it to create an image. It was such it was a very provocative image, and that's not at all what I had asked it to create. So it is so easy for these deep fakes, and it's also easy for deep fakes for voice. It's easy for deep fakes for video. So we're going to see we have seen nothing yet in terms of how dirty divorce is going to be, how dirty it's going to be in the corporate landscape. This election is already shaping up to be dirty, dirty, dirty. And it's, like I was talking to a friend of mine who's a congresswoman, and I'm like, I don't know how you do it. The vitriol, I don't know how you do it. This election, and this is not about one party or another, or candidate or another. This is often foreign overseas collusion creating this, and it's not necessarily about the candidate asking them to do it. So it's about to get dirty on a whole other level, and we have to know this, because I'll share my tips in terms of how you can protect yourself, but you have to know that it's about to get dirtier than you've ever imagined. And we're even going to see new forms of law that come up just to deal with these deep fakes in terms of things like divorce. So,
well, how do people know if it's real or not? How can you verify?
You can't. That's the whole thing. So Meta came out with a statement, and they said, oh, we're allowing our users to say if it's AI generated or not. Here's why. They actually don't know. Back in 2008, when Facebook first started, you would get the thing, is that Susan with you? And you go, yes. And then I had a hat on, and you had a hat on. Is that Susan with you? You go, yes. That's called data annotation. All of us with Facebook accounts were complicit in training the largest facial recognition image data set in the entire freaking world. We did that. So I hope everyone, made a lot of money in Facebook, because you trained the data set. I trained the data set. Now, once again, their AI can't tell if it's AI generated or not. So they're asking us to annotate the data. It's super smart, right? It's super smart. And that's great. I invest in tech as well as being in tech, but they can't tell. And the deepfakes are getting better and better. And the videos, it used to be that they're somewhat pixelated. So they're like, you could see the little boxes like Legos. You can't see it now. And if anyone watching or listening, if you go to YouTube and you go to the OpenAI YouTube channel and you look at their video on Sora, it will blow your freaking mind if you have not seen it yet. It shows you the text prompts. That's called prompt engineering, how you ask an AI to do something, and the outputs. It's incredible.
So scary. So how do you prevent it? You can't.
You can't prevent it, but there are three things that I do want to say, and I'm on a crusade about this. So one, for your children and your grandchildren, you need to have a private family phrase that you never text, you never, ever put anywhere. It's not even written down. And that is something within your family. And so what we're seeing is people who are getting phone calls. This is a scam going on right now. So if you see a robo dialer, like a caller calling from multiple different numbers, and you don't recognize the number, don't pick it up. Because once you start to engage with it, they're using AI to get your voice and your intonation, and then they're adding it to public images to create video of you, to create deep fakes. And there was someone who was just, their bank account was emptied like $40,000 because of this. And they're using that to create fake facial recognition to get into your apps that require facial. So this is some old school stuff. So number one, have a family phrase. We have one, Rebecca. No one knows what it is outside the family. The kids know what it is. If they get a call from me like, hey, I need $2,500 or whatever, they would have to ask the family phrase, because you know what? It's going to sound just like me. That's the scary thing.
Mm.
That's number one. Number two, it's time to stop posting your damn kids on social media, because anyone, if you have, any net worth whatsoever, they are going to create deep fakes of your children. We're going to see all kinds of things. And I did it too. I was complicit. I was not in this world at that time. I wouldn't do it now.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
But posting your children's photos, your teenagers, you need to monitor their phones and what they're doing. There was just an outage of about 74,000 cell phones of all the big providers here in the United States. And my next common sense thing is, do your kids actually know how to get home if their cell phone isn't working? And you may say, well, Rebecca, that sounds common sense, because you and I would know how to do that. But we grew up before the cell phone era. And so you've got to be training your children. And this is also a time too that, you know, unless you have an OnlyFans or whatever it is you do, and you really don't care if those salacious images are out there of you, then fine. But if you do care, then let people know what you stand for. So then if something does arise, like people know for me in my real life, they know, oh, okay, Susan is Christian. Susan doesn't show bikini pics of herself on Instagram. There's no booty shots of me. So if they saw something like that, they'd probably go, hey, that's not Susan. And if that is you, and you don't show yourself in a thong on Instagram, then be who you are, because then if something comes out, your friends are going to know it's not real. But Rebecca, this is getting to the point where we even saw in Hong Kong a fake virtual meeting where they used AI generation to make all of the executives. Did you hear about this? And there was one real human in that meeting, the virtual meeting, who thought these were all the executives in the meeting, and they transferred millions of dollars to the people who did the deepfakes. Now, that company should have had safeguards. No one person should be able to transfer millions of dollars out of your company, but that is going on right now. So common sense things like always be changing your passwords, have the 20 25 alphanumeric character passwords, don't have two passwords the same, constantly be checking your cybersecurity. Like this stuff, it trickles down. You see the bullying with kids that are using AI to bully other kids. We're going to see it more in divorces. We're going to see it more in business. And you have to practice the common sense things to protect yourself.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, I tell people to change their passwords constantly anyway, for sure. But I mean, this is, another level of that. I mean, it's going crazy with all of this. So these are all really, really great tips. So what are some final words of advice that you would give people in this whole new world that we're going into now? And I know you started another business, the pause, and and I know we're kind of running short on time, so I want to just make sure that we get some last few things in for you.
Sure. So the thing I'll say with AI is there are some real bright spots in AI, and healthcare, and specifically women's health, is one of them. The AI is going to help us really shift the landscape for how women are cared for in three ways. One, earlier detection, which is huge, because when you can detect something like cancer super, super early, then that's your best chance. Number two, prediction. Who is likely to? Right now, for Rebecca and I, as mixed race women, there isn't a lot of data on women just like us. And if you had kids who were old enough, who ever went to American Girl, when they announced the American Girls, the Just Like Us dolls, it was like, finally, there's dolls just like us. Right now, there aren't data sets for women just like us. And so that's going to allow for better prediction. And then the third thing is better outcomes with customized care. The disparities for women's health, especially for Black and brown women, it's absolutely disgusting. So for me, there were a lot of things I could have done, but I looked at menopause. The average age for a woman to start feeling menopause symptoms is 45. That's the same age she rises to a leadership position in a Fortune 500 company, director and above. And the average length of menopause is anywhere from 7 to 10 years. And so, just when you're getting into a powerful phase in your career and you're earning and things are going really well, now you're not sleeping, potentially brain fog, hot flashes, all sorts of different symptoms that are happening. And so using artificial intelligence to create customized outcomes, and for, say, someone like Rebecca comes on my platform, the pause, she's going to have a different experience than, say, someone who is maybe younger, never given birth to children, looks different. And so that's what we're building. And people can find out more at thepause.ai. I'm looking for women who are ages 45 to 55 who want to be early users on our platform. It's going to be fun. There's a gamification layer too to reward behaviors, which is awesome. And the final thought I have for everyone, Rebecca, is, with AI, it's changing every single day. And my other cautionary thing is there are a lot of people who you and I know who decided suddenly they're AI influencers and they've never worked a day in AI in their life. Be careful who you listen to. Just like there are a lot of people who are suddenly narcissism experts who aren't Rebecca, who aren't, attorneys and haven't worked in this space for freaking decades. Don't listen to them, and it's not to throw shade on anyone. It's just really choose your experts wisely. And that's why, a lot of people pay attention to what I'm saying because I'm an award-winning expert in artificial intelligence.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, honestly, it's so, so important because I'm listening to you. And not only is this woman rising to this power and doing all of these things, but I'm also thinking about how this woman is probably also dealing with maybe high conflict personalities, probably dealing with maybe a divorce, maybe dealing with, because 85% of people in the workforce have reported that they have dealt with a high conflict personality. 85%.
Yeah.
So, and at least 50% of the people are dealing with a divorce, right?
And so
So
she's
think
she's
about
not
that.
sleeping, she's dealing with high conflict, she's maybe going through a divorce or a speed bump in her relationship, right?
Right.
And she's not sleeping, then therefore she's got brain fog, therefore she's gaining weight, her hormones are out of whack. There's a whole bunch of misresearch. As an example, they said hormone replacement therapy was bad. Actually, the research showed only if you had a pre-existing cardiac event was it bad for you. And even with our new company, we have the head of the Menopause Society is on our medical advisory board. Like, we're not here to play. Those are our people, the women who are going through the conflict. They're working, they're dealing with their body is not in alignment with all of their badassery. And it's like, how do we help them? And so that's what I'm doing. And it's always fun to get to collaborate with you and help all of these incredible people.
Yeah. So, and it's where can people actually find you, find out more about where the pause is and everything? So go ahead and announce all the websites and everything.
Sure, absolutely. The main site is thepause.ai. So people can find it there. We have a weekly newsletter. It comes out Thursday. It's got menopause tips. It gives updates on the company. Then we have all the socials. Our TikTok just doubled. There's some funny stuff there. I don't run that one. Then we're on TikTok. We're on Instagram at the pause. We're on X. We're on LinkedIn. We have a private Facebook community that's going to be opening soon. It's invitation only. You have to be on our list to get into that community. And then those will be the first people who get to come on the platform. They're going to have 30 days of coaching and the technology. So we've got like one of the top nutritionists in the world. He has been published 112 times, Rebecca. All of his research on stubborn fat loss was done initially on menopausal women. Like, this man is brilliant. And so we have incredible PhDs, therapists, like it is all happening. So the first thing is get on the list. That's how you find out all the good stuff.
Yeah. All right. So go check it out, follow her, get on the list. And this is so brilliant, so helpful. And I just want to download your brain a whole lot more, but this is, I know, been so helpful. for everybody. So thank you, thank you, thank you so much.
So I think, Rebecca, we should do another show, but we'll do a video where I actually build with you your own GPT live, because I've been, you and I've been talking about that for a very long time.
Well, I'm about ready to update the whole Slay program. So we're going to be doing that too. So that's going to be amazing. And we're going to add in a whole lot of AI right in there. So yeah. Thank you so much.